The FBI opened up Crossfire Hurricane without speaking to the people who provided the initial information. Is that true?
That's correct.
The FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane on a Sunday, only 3 days after reviewing that information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Durham, the FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane without interviewing any of the essential witnesses. Is that true?
That's true.
And the FBI also opened up Crossfire Hurricane without using any of the standard analytical tools typically employed to evaluate that evidence. Is that true?
That's true.
So think about that. The FBI never talked to the people who gave them the intelligence information. They never examined their own witnesses. They never interviewed the witnesses. They never corroborated the dossier. Mr. Durham, if the FBI had done these things, if they had done their homework, would it have found that its own Russian experts had no information about President Trump being involved with Russian leadership or Russian intelligence officials?
Yes.
Was there adequate predication for the FBI to open Crossfire Hurricane as a full investigation?
It's not a legitimate basis to open as a full investigation.
Let's move on to a second really troubling aspect of your findings. From the report, I gathered that key FBI leaders, all the way at the top, were predisposed to go after candidate Trump. This bias likely affected the conduct of FBI personnel in this investigation. Is that true?
Yes.
FBI Deputy Assistant Director Peter Strzok drafted and approved the Crossfire Hurricane opening communication. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in your investigation, your office discovered text messages between Strzok and Lisa Page, who was the special assistant to the FBI Director McCabe, expressing strong bias against candidate Trump.
That's true.
On August 18, 2016, Page texted Strzok, "Trump's not going to become president, right? Right?" And Strzok responded by saying, no, he's not. We'll stop it." It's clear that there was no evidence of Russia collusion with the Trump campaign in 2016. The American people deserve the truth, and I'm proud to serve on this committee to uncover these lies that were perpetuated for far too long.
Mr. Durham, in the summer of 2016, did our government receive intelligence that suggested Secretary Clinton had approved a plan to tie President Trump to Russia?
Yes.
Was that intelligence important enough for Director Brennan to go brief the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Director of the FBI?
Yes.
And was that intelligence put then into a memorandum, a referral memorandum?
Yes.
And was that memorandum then given to Director Comey and Agent Strzok?
That's who it was addressed to, yes.
Did Director Comey share that memorandum with the FISA Court?
I'm sorry,
Did he share that memorandum with the FISA Court? Did Director Comey do that?
I'm not aware of that if he did.
Did he share it with the lawyers preparing the FISA application?
Not to my knowledge.
Did he share it with the agents on the case, working the Crossfire Hurricane case?
No.
Didn't share it with the agents on the case. Can you tell the committee what happened when you took that referral memo and shared it with one of those agents, specifically Supervisory Special Agent Number 1?
We showed him the intelligence information. He indicated he had never seen it before. He immediately became emotional.
He was ticked off, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was ticked off because this is something he should have had as an agent on the case. It's important information that the director of the FBI kept from the people doing the investigation.
The information was kept from him.
Thank you. Mr. Durham, your report is not just sobering, as you stated. It's outrageous and deeply troubling. Can you confirm these several main points that it found? The FBI did not have an adequate basis on which to launch Crossfire Hurricane, correct?
That's correct.
The FBI failed to examine all available exculpatory evidence, correct?
Correct.
FBI leadership continued the investigation even when case agents were unable to verify the evidence, correct?
That's correct.
The FBI did not interview key witnesses in Crossfire Hurricane, correct?
Correct.
And individuals within the FBI abused their authority under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, correct?
Correct.
Investigators relied on misstatements by the confidential human source, ignored exculpatory statements made by Papadopoulos in submitting the FISA application to surveil Carter Page, correct?
That's correct.
Is it true that an FBI employee fabricated this evidence? Can you expand on that?
One of the agents who had come on board wanted to be certain that there was information that was their information as to whether or not Carter Page had been a source of information to the CIA, and pressed Kevin Kleinsmith in the General Counsel's Office of the FBI on that point. Kleinsmith got a hold of people at another government agency, intelligence agency, on the issue, And that person said that, yes, in the FBI parlance, Carter Page was the source, and put that in writing. When Kleinsmith talked to the agent who was saying, we want to be sure on this, was he or was he not a source? Kleinsmith said, no, he said he's not. He said, did we get that in writing? Kleinsmith said, yes. And they said, well, I want to see it. And then Kleinsmith altered the other government agency document to reflect this, to say that Page was not a source, when he in fact was a source. That's the gist of it.
In your opening statement, you talk about lack of investigative discipline, a failure to take logical investigative steps, and bias. It appears to me that the lack of investigative discipline and the failure to take logical investigative steps are a result of bias. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. When you look at what is involved here, this is a presidential campaign. It's not a run-of-the-mill investigation. So highly sensitive, it could affect the outcome of a presidential election and the future of the nation. You would expect that the discipline that would have been followed would have been higher than ever. And that didn't happen here. The sort of analytical rigor, the discipline in how we investigate criminal matters, that was just absent here in large measure.
Fair to say that there was a rush to judgment? In other words, the judgment of proceeding with the investigation before following proper procedure.
As been alluded to here, the information that they had received from the Australian diplomats, not Australian intelligence or law enforcement, about Australian diplomats about something that was said at a bar. Within 3 days of that information having been received at FBI headquarters, the deputy director of the FBI, according to Mr. Strzok, told him to immediately open that, and it was opened as a full investigation on a weekend with Mr. Strzok, not only writing the opening electronic communication, the opening memo, but approving that memo as well.
And this is the same Mr. Strzok who we saw the text message from that had a clear bias regarding President Trump.
It's the same person, yes.